Welcome to the Wholesome Healing Collective.
Join us on our podcast for a journey into the hearts of healers from all walks of life, diving deep as we explore meaningful conversations that have the power to inspire, empower, and share life-changing wisdom.
Through this community, we hope to create a welcoming environment where our listeners leave feeling nurtured and uplifted. We are so delighted you are here. My name is Alyssa.
And I'm Renee. Grab a drink, get cozy, and let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Wholesome Healing Collective. Me and Alyssa are here today, and what's on our hearts is talking about abundance and sharing with you some of the tidbits and nuggets of wisdom that we've learned from our readings, our teachings, our practices in life, and we're excited to share with you.
Yes, you all should know by now that we are lifelong learners. And so we've got a lot of book recommendations, different mantras and affirmations, and then we'll be ending with a little meditation / affirmation. So we'll be guiding you through that process. So stick around until the end. So what does abundance mean for you?
I feel like it has been quite the evolving concept for me. Previously, thinking of it from a very materialistic, money, material kind of way. And then now it's broadening into more of the energetic and the embodiment of abundance, and that concept of abundance just being another energy, and realizing that abundance isn't just materials, and it isn't just money materials, even if when you are thinking about abundance, but really feeling abundance, not having abundance. And so tapping into that energy and feeling it envelop me, I guess, is what I've been expanding into, and slowly starting to build my capacity to feel that energy, which has been quite the journey, I guess. I mean, you think of it as like, oh yeah, if I were just given $1 million, I could hold that. Like, I would love to do all these different things, no problem. But in reality, one of the reasons why so many people don't stay wealthy when they receive wealth is because energetically they haven't grown to the capacity to be able to hold it and circulate it, so they get rid of it really quickly. So that's interesting to observe and notice that I have that tendency at times when I do receive money, and to just work on growing in that capacity to hold the energy.
Yeah, I resonate with so much of that, especially that end part. I just had a mentor meeting last week. What is today? Last Friday, where we were talking about my potential for abundance and what would feel good for me to make monthly, and like what would be like a stretch goal, what would be amazing for me to make monthly or yearly. And then she said, how does that feel in your body? And I said, it feels like I can't hold that just yet. And so I need to do some more work on being able to hold that number and receive that number. And I'll share later in my affirmations how I'm developing that relationship. But so abundance for me is not just money, but feeling abundant in all areas like health, wealth, knowledge, time, just the complete opposite of lack and scarcity. So not just money, but in all areas. And knowing, just like you said, it's an energy and it's infinite. Doesn't matter which pillar or petal you're feeling into, you can have an infinite amount of abundance. We all can. Yeah, I feel like that sums up abundance for me. And I love that you mentioned that developing the, um, I heard, you didn't say, but like I heard or felt embodiment of abundance, and
Yeah.
being able to like feel where abundance lives in the body and how to develop it, how to hold it. I think that's such a powerful piece of information.
Yeah. I'm curious, going back to what you said about the feeling into that stretch goal and feeling that, okay, I'm not quite ready to hold that. What, how could you tell in your body that
Yeah.
that's what the feeling was versus maybe the previous checkpoint in that session where you were like, yeah, that's good. And then, okay, that's a little too much.
Yeah, it felt kind of like a hot potato thing, like I keep mentioning, where it's like, ooh, that's not mine, not for me. It's scary and it didn't feel safe.
Mm, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually one of the affirmations that I've been working with is I'm safe with money and money's safe with me.
Yeah.
And feeling growing that safety feeling with the money. Um, which is super interesting because I think most people would logically think, oh, if I have more money, then I am safer because I can have more things to protect me or
Mhm.
have more financial security or a savings. But if you didn't grow up with those securities, or if you have a negative connotation towards and money as it like the root of all evil, or so many different conditioned responses that we have, like money doesn't grow on trees and you have to work hard for money, so then a lot of money means I have to work really hard and that doesn't feel good in my body. So I think that's another great point to make, is that money is energy and it's a neutral energy. It's not
Mhm.
good and it's not bad. And it is completely dependent on how we circulate it as an individual, as a collective. That's what makes it do the good things in the world or do the bad things in the world.
Yes. And as Sam says, what if more good people had more money to recirculate and use for good? Like our world would be so different.
Yeah. And I think a lot of leaders like Sam and Robin, um, I really appreciate how they're stepping forth in their own abundance and making those statements, to teach those of us that might feel like, if I charge money or if I charge what this service is worth, then I'm not staying humble, or that's too much. A lot of there's like a negative connotation towards money and spirituality. So if I'm charging too much, then does that take away from my spirituality, or does that take away from the potency of my medicine, or is that wrong? I should be giving it away, be a martyr. And they both talk about, and I remember Robin talking about this specifically, of when she receives money, she blesses it back to them. And she imagines that what she provides to them is going to bring them more abundance as
Mm.
she's getting more abundance. So both people are benefiting from the interaction, from that divine compensation. And so remembering as healers and facilitators that it's okay for us to charge for those services and to have an even energy exchange, because you're not taking. It's not a I'm taking from this person and now they have less. It's I'm receiving it and blessing it back to them, and both are going to have more. And so
Mm.
that's been a shift that I'm working on making, but definitely those conditions and those ruts in my mind are very deep. So it takes work for sure.
Yeah. And coming at that with a more masculine or structured mind approach, what's the return on your investment? Like if you're working with Robin, for me, it was learning business skills. And so what I paid her, I should receive back in my sales. And when we paid Sam Skelly for our trainings, we should be receiving our money back in coaching and breathwork services. And when our clients pay us, they should be receiving healings that allow them to break apart some of these wounds or fears or blocks so they can be more abundant if that's what they desire, or they can be any number of things if that's what they desire. It's just this, like you said, this energy, this sacred reciprocity. And when you can look at it from that lens, it's a beautiful exchange. It's not, it's like,
Yeah.
it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of a quote from one of the books that I wanted to reference called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And it says they have different like wealth principles throughout the book. And it says, rich people see every dollar as a seed that can be planted to earn 100 more dollars, which can then be replanted to earn 1,000 more dollars. So I think that's an important point to make when we invest our money into programs or mentors or coaches, is that we're not just handing it away. And even when we invest in our business or our Zoom subscription, like we're planting a seed that can then yield more abundance. And the more we can think about that, it's like planting this beautiful garden that's just seeds to start out, but eventually it's going to be flowers and food and herbs that smell good and like all those
Mm,
things.
I love that. Yeah, that
Yeah,
book, Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, was really, really cool. And definitely a masculine lens. Again, I
I was
think all
just
the other
thinking that.
books
Yeah.
are more feminine, more flowy. This was a little more structured and talking about these principles. And and his affirmations were so funny. Was it place your hand on your head? Um, I have a millionaire mind.
Yeah. Yeah. He does like the body, like putting it in my head, like physically.
If
Yeah.
you're looking for ways to break apart some of those subconscious principles, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Beliefs, and reconstruct those, I recommend that book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what's one of your favorite that's maybe on the more feminine, flowy side of
Mm.
abundance knowledge?
Yeah, so we're both reading the Sophia Code, and even though that's not directly like an abundance novel, but it is talking about your divinity, your sovereignty, and how we are all provided for and abundant by nature. And it's just a really beautiful book, so you can tap into your power. And the quote I read this morning um, was talking about suffering. And you cannot experience the heaven within you when you are gripping on to the hell of suffering. So it's kind of like that, the polarity of what is it that you desire? Do you desire abundance? What is its opposite? And how much energy are you giving to the opposite? Is it lack, suffering, scarcity?
Mm,
Are you letting your mind, your body, your energy be controlled by that rather than the opposite in which you're trying to attract and embody? So I
yeah.
really liked looking at that quote through that lens.
I think that's a beautiful quote, especially for our um the realists that are out there that maybe identify as like a realist, where they're like, yeah, I want abundance, but this is the reality of what I'm in. And it
Mm,
feels difficult to not focus on that current reality or that current whatever situation they're in where they feel that lack or they're not quite where they want to be. And I think it's sometimes, at least for me, it was difficult to future cast what abundance looks like and feels like, particularly, especially if we haven't felt abundance before.
mhm.
Um, and that's why I think it's so important to tap into the abundance that is everything and not just the money part of it. Because I think that's where I got really stuck on that concept for a long time, because it was like, how can I feel into abundance and having money when I've never had it? Growing up, we didn't have a whole lot. And money was a source of stress in my household growing up. So that's what I associated with it, was stress, and all of those money doesn't grow on trees and there isn't enough to go around, all those concepts. So it was really hard for me to even feel into what that could be until I started tapping into, okay, there's an abundance of trees outside, and there's an abundance of air that I can breathe, and I'm blessed with an abundance of food. I have access to healthy food and things like that, where you tap into the energy in that way and you get into that feeling in the body. And then you can say, okay, well, what would it be like if I had the same feeling and I was surrounded by money, or I was surrounded by the ideal clients that I want, and the tribe of people I want to build, and the community, and the retreat center, and thinking of abundance in the life I want to build, not just the things I want to have. And that really has helped me a lot in that shift.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. More money in the hands of good people equals the retreat center and all of these other things that you desire to have to just give back to other people,
Yeah.
recirculating it for the greater good.
Yeah. I realized the other day that one thing I want to call in is an abundance of time.
Mhm.
And I catch myself in the not enoughness energy when it relates to time. I don't have enough time to do this. I don't have enough time to plan that. I don't have enough time to create that. And I'm just rewiring this mentality of never having enough time. And I was talking to a mentor the other day who was sharing about how she went to a retreat, volunteered at a retreat
Mm.
for this program that takes inner city kids that might be struggling for whatever reason, and they take them out to nature and allow them to experience a totally different experience. And they are able to see the stars for the first time, because
Mhm.
they live in a city with light pollution and they rarely see stars, and they get to get into their body for the first time and learn tools to help them. And I thought, how cool is that, that she has the abundance of money and time, that she can go and spend a week, and she doesn't need to worry about making money while she's doing it. She doesn't need to worry about the cost of getting there. She doesn't have to worry about any of that. She's abundant so much that she can just give that. And I was,
Yeah.
that's what I want. I want to be
Mhm.
so abundant that I can just go volunteer for a week and I don't have to stress about it. I don't have to stress about getting there or taking the time off or any of that. And so that for me was like this beautiful reminder of what abundance looks like in more than just money.
Yeah. I love that. And I find that when I'm out in the community working with the unhoused population, um, that I actually receive blessings outside of that, but it feels in relation to it because
Mhm.
I went there. I received this. And though I don't want to like make it look like if I go do this, then I'll be blessed. It's just this beautiful relationship where if I show up, I know that I'll have that sacred reciprocity, and it might not be from these people, but it will be from the universe in a different way. And then also coming back to that abundance of time, it also kind of comes down to priorities. And for us as generators or manifesting generators, we should be prioritizing what lights us up. And
Mm,
so, if it doesn't feel good, don't force it, because the energy that you're creating it in is going to be felt and seen after the fact by, everybody looking at it or experiencing it. So depending on your human design, don't force yourself to do it, but also trying to tap into that energy of how could I want to be inspired to do this or motivated to do this if it's something you have to do, which I like to, create a container and step into that container and just be like there for a little while and then step out and be like, okay, I'm done, done with whatever it was I had to do. And time blocking is one of the ways I try really hard to monitor that. So if I know it's something I have to do, I add it to my calendar and time block that. So again, kind of structured masculine approaches, but sometimes we need that balance, the feminine and the masculine.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of reminds me too of linking the masculine approach of like the logical, the organized, the time blocking, the um analytical planning part with, I've started to mix that with my cycle. And I think we've touched on that a little bit in previous episodes, but just looking at my monthly calendar and thinking like, okay, these are the weeks I'm going to have the most energy. So I'm going to time block more creativity, more networking, more doing people stuff versus, okay, this week or that week, I'm going to be more introspective. I'm going to be more um, reflective. I'm not going to do as much social stuff. I'm going to kind of clear out the calendar a little more and allowing myself to flow with my own energy instead of saying, okay, Thursday's my time block for creating this container and it's every Thursday. It doesn't matter like how I feel, but actually listening to my body and saying, okay, these are the weeks I'm good with that. And these are the weeks where I'm going to clear it out a little more, or I'm going to spend more time on just different activities. So that's another one that I'm trying to change, but it's that masculine approach is very wired. And so I find myself falling back into it. And then I get into the energy that is like more lower energy, introspective. And I'm like, who scheduled my calendar like this? Why did I do this to myself? And then it, like you said, it doesn't create the energy and infuse what I'm doing with the energy I want, versus if I would just listen to myself and create in the energy that I know I'm good at creating in. That's
Yes.
kind of a tangent, but
No, I love that. That was such a helpful piece of creating the masculine and feminine in just the time blocking, the prioritizing in general. And it's such a beautiful way to look at that. And if you don't have a cycle, then maybe you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. Like you don't have to flow through the cycle, but there's a lot of methods out there. It's just really great to share all that information.
yeah.
So you've got another book over there we haven't talked about, The Divine Law of Compensation by Marianne
Yes.
Williamson. Such a good book.
Beautiful little book from A Course in Miracles, talking about divine compensation and reciprocity, and has beautiful beautiful prayers in it, beautiful way of looking at prayer versus meditation, and how we can start to adopt this energy of gratitude and love in everything that we do, which then, if we think about love being that highest frequency, love is abundance. And when we're abundant in love, we're abundant in everything. And that just trickles over into our the energy of abundance with money and what we want to create in our 3D reality. And I really liked how she makes it simple. It's a simple but profound nuggets of wisdom to
Yeah, it
it.
was very easy to digest. I think I read a chapter every morning and it just felt really good. And then there's prayers, I think, at every
Yeah.
chapter, which just feel really good if you say them out loud and then you can meditate on them. But it's juicy.
Yeah. And I like how even though she does make some biblical references and she does refer to God and Jesus and some of those disciples, I don't get the impression that she is in a religious box. I feel like she is sharing the teachings because they're valuable teachings, not because they're in the Bible and that's what the Bible says. So
Yeah.
for anyone that's like maybe feels a little cringe with the word prayer, because I know that sometimes in certain circumstances I feel that too. I feel like this is a wonderful way to adopt some of those prayers and create that connection with that source, whatever you want to call it, without feeling like you're in a religious box or like, oh, I'm not Christian, so I'm not going to read that book. It's still a beautiful book to read with a lot of wisdom in it, even if you don't identify with those specific teachings or like the Christian approach.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Course in Miracles isn't isn't based on the Bible. It's actually somebody is channeling the messages straight from Jesus, and so they're a different story or viewpoint, or maybe more of the information is filled in, true, accurate. Um so you kind of have to believe in that channeling, and you have to believe in Jesus and be open to this new way of receiving this information. Um, but I think that Marianne Williamson then digests the book and explains it in her own way in her several books. I think that she lays out in this one specifically talking about the divine law of compensation. And so it's an easy way to digest that information as well, because somebody's just interpreting it for you, because the Course in Miracles is a really long book.
Yeah, yeah. Another great one that I would recommend is You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen. I hope I say this right. Sincero. I think that's how you say her last name. Um, and she has a few different books. She has You're a Badass and then You're a Badass at Making Money. They're both great books. And I would say another author that is just makes these concepts really digestible and puts different exercises, affirmations, things together that feels accessible to start to put practices into the daily life that can help us refocus on the energy of abundance and on what we want to create versus the lack that we're experiencing or the circumstances that we're not enjoying, and kind of helping us shift again and again back to where we want to go, which I think is super important because, sometimes we hear these concepts or we read them and it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I can do that. And then the next day we go back to our conditioning and our programming. And then later we're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. How do I actually do that in my daily life? So I feel like
Mhm.
that helps. And maybe I'll share one of the little exercises they have. Okay, yeah. So it is a exercise and it has an affirmation that is suggested to go along with the exercise. And one note that she puts with the affirmation is to not just say it, but to write it and to feel it and to own it. And so, and like I mentioned, sometimes the feeling part of it is difficult at first if we haven't felt it before, but just continuing to have that desire and call that in, and eventually those feelings will start to arise. And so the affirmation is, I love money because it's the root of so much awesome. So I feel
Mm.
like that's a nice rewiring of that, like the root of all evil concept. So it's the root of so much awesome. And there's 4 steps to the practice. And step 1 is to write down 5 positive words to describe money. So this is nice because, especially if we're conditioned with these negative connotations towards money, we can start to look at the opposites, right? And then step 2 is practicing thank you every time you receive money, and think to yourself, see, money loves me. It can't stay away. And start to think of that like, oh, like, money loves me. Like, look at this, I'm receiving it again. And I just think that's like a fun and playful thing to do. And then she even suggests when you are receiving that and thanking for receiving, doing like a victory lap around your house or kissing your checks. Don't kiss money though, because that's yucky. Celebrating gifts and the flow of the abundance that's coming to you, showing your appreciation for it. And this is not just money that you might receive in your hand, but even like your investments going up or someone signing up for your program or money flowing to you in any way. And then step 3 is to spend at least 5 minutes every day sitting in silence, connecting with the energy of money. Imagining money flowing all around you, filling you up, moving in and out of your heart. Also, walk around all day feeling it as much as possible. So, I love that because I truly feel like that morning time that we take with ourselves is what sets up the energy for the day. And so, starting with that is like that anchor that you can come back to throughout the day to remind yourself and feel into it. And then step 4 is, and I think this is really cute, leaving money all around your house in various places so that you get used to seeing it all the time. Remind yourself how abundant it is and make it like an Easter egg hunt. And I thought that was really cool. And then the last little step is to fill in the blank. I'm grateful to money because, and just writing out, I'm grateful for money because, again and again. So that's bringing in that energy of gratitude for what you have, for what's coming to you. So that's a fun practice that you can start doing daily, weekly, whatever feels good.
I love those practices. They sound really, really magical.
Yeah, and bringing in that like playful side of it, not just the, okay, I'm going to feel into it one time or do this meditation, but putting it all around your house so you're reminded by it. You have that visual and just doing victory laps. And I don't know. I think part of it really appeals to me because I'm really trying to cultivate that playful energy. So there's a part of me that lights up with that where it's like, oh yeah, playful can, or money can be playful. It's not just this stress thing, which is what is wired in me.
Yes.
Was
Yes. And for anybody out there, maybe feeling like some of these affirmations, um, don't feel safe in the body, like they feel like a lie, they don't feel like your truth. That can happen at the beginning when you start working with affirmations. And you can always say, I am in the process of creating this relationship with money, or I'm in the process of learning how to love money. I'm in the process of finding safety with holding this money. That kind of adds that safety aspect and makes the affirmation a little bit easier to feel. And then in line with the work that we do, when you're feeling the resistance in the body, when you're saying these affirmations, that's the message that the body is trying to show you. There is energy here in the body that needs to be felt, acknowledged, and released. And you can do that on your own, or you can do that with support. But that energy needs to be released and transmuted so that you can fully embody this energy that you're trying to hold.
Yes, great point. Yeah, so
Yeah,
important.
beautiful. So I think that, oh, no, I have a couple more things to share. So you probably know by now, I love crystals. I have a crystal for everything. And so my crystal for abundance, this is a raw citrine, but I have a couple tumbled or like pointy ones that are like prettier than this one. But my sister got this for me and it's in my office. And so it was just handy for me to grab this. But citrine is a crystal for abundance. And then a goddess that I've worked with, with abundance is Lakshmi, the Indian goddess or the Hindu goddess of abundance, fertility, all that juicy stuff. So you can dig in a little bit more if you're into crystals or goddesses. Yeah, but we're ready for the little money affirmation exercise. And I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I've been activating my water in the morning. And so this is what I whisper into my water and then blow and then say, and so it is. And then as I'm drinking this giant glass of water, I'm infusing every cell of my being with my affirmation. So that's optional, but that's just what I've been doing. Okay.
I've been starting to practice that since you mentioned that the other day. I was like, oh, I love it. Because I do that with my cacao. And I was like, why don't I do this with my water? So I started doing that with water too.
Yes. That makes so much sense. All right. So get cozy here. I'm going to guide you into the body, inviting you to close down the eyes here or having a soft, gentle gaze. And taking a few cleansing breaths with me, breathing in through the nose and out the mouth, in through the nose and out the mouth, releasing the jaw, relaxing the shoulders, and maybe sitting up just a little bit taller. And one more breath here, inviting in a sigh. Beautiful. So bringing your awareness to your heart space or maybe your center, wherever feels the most like home, the most safe. And inviting you to repeat these affirmations and maybe feel them in the body if that's accessible for you. I am a money magnet. Money is attracted to me. Money flows to me and through me. I circulate money for the greater good of all. Money is safe with me. I love money. Money loves me. And so it is. Beautiful. Feeling that energy in the body, feeling this shift. Maybe marinating here for a moment. And when you're ready, inviting you back to this time and space with me. Beautiful.
That felt good.
Yeah, juicy.
I like this. Maybe we could put those in the show notes.
Ooh, yes. It's a great idea. Those will be in the show notes as well as our book recommendations. Yeah, anything else to wrap this up with?
I think that energy is the perfect note to end on.
Beautiful. I think so too. Awesome. Well, we hope that you all have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.